I was listening to the commentary, and there's been a lot of commentary in the media about what the Pope said behind closed doors to Italian bishops. And if you just step back and think about what has actually gone on here, it is the Italian gay mafia in the church has, let's say, posed the question and created the storm, which was interesting. Imagine if, for example, a bishop in this closed meeting said to the Holy Father, look, what do we do with gay men who come who want to be priests? And the Holy Father says, look, yeah, I know there's a document there that says not to accept them, but you're okay. Just keep it on the down low. Don't say anything. Don't ruffle feathers. Imagine if that story had got out, that the Pope is contradicting his own document. And yet, what he said behind closed doors, it was, look, guys, your seminaries are emptying initially. The faith is dying initially. Maybe it's time to reform. Maybe it's time to change. Because what Italian bishops seem to be doing is being asleep at the wheel, let's face it. The crisis in the church initially is what it is. I mean, a completely declining population to start with, not to mention a declining practicing population. More people practice yoga and go to occult practices, tarot card readings, fortune tellers, etc., etc., etc. Need I say more? Because really, basically, Italian bishops, like German bishops and many Western bishops, are asleep at the wheel. When it comes to this topic, when a priest goes into the priesthood, he's got one mission, is to be in another Christ. You die to yourself and you become another Christ. The priesthood isn't a place where a man goes because he's nowhere else to go. And if a man has lived a gay lifestyle, it is not the place you end up. I could write a book about the stories of men who go into the priesthood who are not meant to be in the priesthood. They suffer. Their mission suffers. That's not a place for you. It really isn't. It's a mission that's, where you go in, you die to yourself and become another Christ. Otherwise, you end up like some priest who comes to his church and says, I'm gay, and they all applaud. I said, hold on a second, Father. You've made the story about yourself now? And I thought it was interesting in the last day to see the response of the Jesuits. Literally, I'm quite an interesting response from the Jesuits. Some Jesuits account saying, oh, look, one Jesuit I saw, I'm not going to mention his name, saying, well, I know lots of gay priests and they do lots of great work. And they're very sad about what the Pope has said. Really, it's interesting to see this phenomenon come out. I am sure there are many good priests who are gay who live their vows, who love their priesthood, and so on and so forth. But if the church is ever going to reform, it has to reform seminary formation. It has to reform culture, environment, and Italian bishops should know this. But they've decided to dig their heads in the sand and say, well, look, any man that walks through to meet with me, I'll put through seminary formation. No. It's not good for those men. It's not good for the church. And this is, a time when the church needs to reform. It needs to change. It's not something new. St. Peter Damian also spoke about this many centuries ago. But the church has to realize that the rot in the church is because men go in to seek the priesthood who do not want to conform their lives for Christ. They want comfort over the cross, and you cannot live with the comfort and the cross. It's either Christ or the world. And, I really think that what has really happened here is the very liberal elements of the Italian church who should have known better than to ask the question, pose the question, then leaked it to destroy, to attack the Holy Father. And that's simply what has happened. It's the gay mafia in the Italian bishops' conference, made sure that the story got out from a private meeting. It certainly wasn't the other side that would have done this. It's a wake-up call for the Italian church, the dying Italian church. Mass attendance has never been lower, because it's rendered itself insignificant. And the culture has to change. Unless you change the culture, you cannot renew the faith. I mean, in other countries, they are managing to do this, but seemingly the Italians like to drag their feet on this issue. I just thought, when I see the headline, and a lot of Catholic bloggers are talking about it, the real headline you need to be aware of here is the mafia, the mafia in Italy, the Lavender Mafia initially, that, concocted this story. They, forced the question, what should I do? Oh no, God, I've a nizzy here. We don't read your documents, Holy Father, from the Vatican. Documents that Pope Benedict wrote, documents that also Pope Francis wrote, after what? Scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal. Maybe it's time to form priests better for the church, instead of accepting men that shouldn't be there. The priesthood is a seminary, is not some place you go to because there's nowhere else for you to go. A seminary is a place where you go to be formed to be another Christ. That's it. That's it. And if men have lived an active sexual gay lifestyle before they go to seminary, they are setting themselves up for failure. They are setting themselves up for failure. That's not the place for you. It isn't. I remember a professor in the Gregorian University, a friend of mine, and he said in a class one day, he said, if you want to live that lifestyle, go and live that lifestyle. But don't think you can ever live that lifestyle in the priesthood. You're going to betray you betray the church, you betray yourself, you betray others. And this was 20 years ago, him saying this. You can't live the double life. You cannot live the double life. And Satan is very clever at destroying the priesthood. It is amazing how the image of the priest in Ireland, the image of the priest in so many countries, has been destroyed. If you go out to anybody on the street and ask them what do they think of the priests, they will get that image that the media has put on them. Either the paedophile priest, or the comical Father Ted priests, or the gay priests, or all this, because this is what's in the media. This is what's in the news. This is what rises up. Yet the normal priest isn't held up, as somebody, I'd like to be, that type of priest. It's not mentioned. And that's the sad reality. That's Satan's marketing strategy. And Satan has the smoke of Satan as well among the Italian bishops who posed that question to the Holy Father, then leaked his response to the media from a closed meeting. So if you want to know who's behind the headlines in the media, it's not Pope Francis that's behind this. It's the Lavender gay mafia in Italy. And so pray for the Holy Father at this moment in time, as they try to take him down one way or the other. But unless the church reforms, nothing will change. Nothing will change. These bishops that have no love for the church should be removed. That's my thoughts on it. They should leave. Because what's the point? Why would you pose that question when you know the answers? You know the documents. Has what the church has been doing for the last 50 years in Europe borne any fruits? No. Pope Benedict spoke about these problems in seminaries in Germany. And look at where Germany's headed. So that's my thoughts on those headlines. And I hope the church learns, and I hope the church reforms, because the priesthood is a place where a man becomes another Christ. End of story. That's it. It's not a priest. It's not a place for anything else but Christ in your life, to be completely transformed and formed around him to be his apostle. God bless you. Take care. Bye bye.